Well, hello and welcome to Understand Men Now. I'm Jonathon Aslay of jonathonaslay.com, and I'm so excited to be doing this live stream for you today. Our topic, the 4 female traits high value men find irresistible. Good guys love this. Really quickly, if you're brand new to my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if any time during this video the content resonates with you, please hit that like button so I can be seen in the YouTube algorithms. Really quickly, my coaching is what I call heart-centered radical honesty. It's direct, a little tough love, and a lot of heart. And occasionally I use expletives to enhance a sentence. So if an F-bomb or two isn't your cup of tea, I suggest logging off right now. Lastly, these are my thoughts, my perceptions, my opinions. By no means do I suggest this is the truth. You have to decide the truth for yourself. I'm a bit of a contrarian, so my advice goes contrary to public opinion and traditional expectations. So once again, you have to decide if it lands for you or not. All right, let's talk about those 4 female traits high value men find irresistible. All right, so really quickly, I actually borrowed this title from someone else. Their title was The Feminine Traits That Men Find Irresistible. And I thought to myself, if you're a regular on my channel, you know how much I despise the concept of masculine and feminine energy. Because the reality is while the notion of it basically is that masculine is doing energy and feminine is receiving energy, and it doesn't matter what gender you are, sadly, people get pigeonholed into feminine is female and masculine is male. So I thought, why not change the conversation to female traits that men find irresistible? And the reason why I said high value men is because sadly, there's a significant percentage of the male population who are emotionally unhealthy. There's a significant percentage of the population. By the way, this is true of men and women alike, not singular to men, but the population, but certainly within men, there are selfish men out there. And quite frankly, being with a selfish man, it doesn't matter what you do in that relationship. If a man is unconscious and is only into what his needs are, it doesn't matter what you do, it's not going to change the narrative in the relationship. Or worse, did you hear me burp when I said that? Or worse, if you're with a misogynistic type of man, a man who believes in the one up, one down type relationship. In other words, he's the leader of the relationship. You are his servant. You are his beck and call. And there is a significant percentage of men who operate from a misogynistic and old patriarchal paradigm. And while for some people that might actually work, I'm not here to judge it per se. I just don't find that to be a very healthy thing for at least my clientele who genuinely seeks partnership and relationship. Now, here's the challenge with those types of men we've talked about, those selfish men or misogynistic men. What they find irresistible in a woman is women who are agreeable or cooperative. Agreeable or cooperative. In fact, that's oftentimes the way feminine energy is characterized, as agreeable or cooperative. But I want you to put an equal sign next to those two words, agreeable or cooperative. Let's put an equal sign next to those words and say submissive. Submissive. Quite frankly, there's a significant percentage of men who seek women who are submissive to them, to seek those women that give their power away to men. And I'm here to say, if you genuinely love yourself from the inside out, if you have your self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-reliance, self-love, you are in your sovereignty, then I encourage you never, ever, 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 ever give your power away to a man. And yet, sadly, the whole dating narrative is set up for women to give their power away to a man because women predominantly prefer to have men be the leaders of the relationship. They take charge, they plan for dates, they pay for dates, they are the leaders. We wait for their phone calls. We don't initiate anything. We lean back in our feminine energy, hoping that magic fairy dust is going to change everything. And I'm here to say that one of the biggest challenges in relationships today is those women who give their power away. And I've shared this in previous videos, and I'm going to share it really quickly again. I'm going to put on my trusty notes. If you haven't seen my video called The 7 Ways Women Give Their Power Away to a Man, I'm going to quickly run by this, because before we can talk about what high value men find irresistible, I want you to understand what selfish and misogynistic men find irresistible, so you can have a contrast and prepare you for those high value men, because the high value man appreciates something different in a relationship. A high value man seeks a partnership in a relationship. A high value man seeks, I'm going to use the term equal, but a mutual partner in their relationship. And yet, sadly, so many of you ladies give your power away to a man. And we're going to share those 7 ways you do this very frequently. Number 1, the relationship is on his terms. You abandon your standards and boundaries for the way the man wants to operate in relationship. You know, I'm here to suggest that, ladies, I'm here to invite a different way looking at the traditional way dating, mating, and relating work. Because if the traditional way was so successful, why is there a significant percentage of people who are single and unhappy in the dating marketplace today? Because if the traditional was so great, then everybody would just be magically happy. And one of the challenges, the traditional, going back to the one up, one down, that patriarchal way of doing things, means that you have to give your power away to a man. That basically means that whatever he says he wants for the relationship, it's at his beck and call, it's on his terms. And you abandon your standards and boundaries. So let me give you an example of what this might look like. You could be talking to a man on a first or second date, and you're like, hey, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a relationship? And he says, yeah, I'm looking for a relationship. And you're like, oh, that's music to my ears, because I'm looking for a relationship too. And as you dig a little bit deeper, you find out that his idea of a relationship is, you're at my beck and call, and your ideal relationship might look similar to what Jonathan Aslay's ideal of a relationship looks like. It looks something like this. This is my standard. I'm looking for a relationship where we spend 3 or 4 days and nights a week together, doing shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills, both in our personal and professional life, intimacy, both physical and emotional intimacy, leading to either living together or getting married. That's my standard. The guy's standard might be, well, I want to see you every other week when I want to get laid. Okay. Now, your standard is this, his standard is this, and you accommodate his standard because he said he wanted a relationship. Ladies, don't abandon your standards or your boundaries for a guy. That's giving your power away. Number 2, you're afraid to speak your truth to a man. Ladies, the whole point of being in a relationship is that you can be intimate with each other. Into me you see, intimacy. Chapter 1 in my book, speak your truth. Do it with kindness. And if it's sincere and from the heart, you can't say the wrong thing to the right guy. That's chapter 9. So I'm here to say, speak your truth. Number 3, when the relationship ends, all you do is focus on him. It's him, 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 him. It's never about how you feel. It's all about what he did wrong or what he didn't do right. I guess that's the same thing, but you get my gist. Number 4, you're waiting for him to initiate contact. Ladies, let me tell you something. The best relationships are a 2-lane street. If he initiates contact, you can initiate contact. And if you initiate contact, he can initiate contact. You're not waiting for the man. You're not leaning back, waiting. Because leaning back only turns off. Well, all that does is attract the wrong guy to chase you, because the high value men, they're bye-bye. We don't play. Homie, don't play that game. Number 5, you stop doing your pre-relationship life before him. Again, this is all selfish and misogynistic. Men love women that give their power away. Number 6, you feel like you can't live without him. And number 7, you think he's the only person you'll ever have chemistry with. Ladies, how many times have you thought this is the only man I'll ever have chemistry with, only to find out there's another bus coming around the bus stop, the next corner? So this is what selfish, misogynistic men find irresistible, are agreeable, or what did I say? Agreeable, cooperative women who are submissive. Now, let me tell you what high value men want. High value men are men whose actions match their words. They live in victor consciousness, not victim consciousness. They take personal responsibility for their choices. They know how to actively listen. They know how to actively listen. And when there's a disagreement, it's not about being right, it's about finding solutions. Number 4, they have empathy, but not just I can feel your feelings. Empathy means I care about my own feelings too. And lastly, transparency, meaning if it's material to the relationship, then it's you speak up. For example, if you have herpes, you tell someone and you don't wait 10 seconds before you have sex because that's material to a relationship. I'm just giving you one example. If you're not divorced, that's material to a potential new relationship. You transparent means if it's material to the relationship, you speak up. That's what a high value, emotionally mature man shows up as. And my hope is you do the same, because this is synonymous with human beings, not necessarily a gender. So you found a guy, you think he's emotionally mature, and you really want to take this relationship to the next level. Well, then I'm going to share those 4 female traits, not feminine traits, female traits. It's my notes that men find irresistible. Number 1, we men find nurturing incredibly irresistible. And what I mean to say is, while men typically like to take care of themselves, that's a very typical thing. When we're sick, we turn into gigantic babies. Well, not all men, a significant percentage of men. I know I do. I know many of my male contemporaries do, friends do. And there's nothing sexier, nothing more irresistible than a woman who can actually take care of you when you're sick. I know of a man who was kind of the quintessential emotionally unavailable guy. And he ended up getting, this was 10 years ago, getting the West Nile virus. And he had been dating a woman for about a year. And she literally was by his side every single day as he was recovering from this. And during that time, he began to be very appreciative of her efforts. And when he was actually well, the first thing he did, he pulled out a ring and said, "Will you marry me?" Because that nurturing made a difference. To a high value man, to a selfish man, to a misogynist man, they'll take from you, but they don't actually appreciate your efforts. And this is why I share with you continually on my videos. It's so important to vet for emotional maturity. And if you need to learn how to ask the right questions to determine if this guy is emotionally mature, check out the link to a free discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Number 2. Now, this one's my personal favorite, but I wrote down body movement. And what I mean by this, I didn't know how else to term this, but that's what I came up with, is body movement, or just your body. And what I mean to say is, I've been following a woman on TikTok. I think her name is Miranda Derrick. She's a dancer. And these cute little TikTok videos pop up. And I got to tell you, there is something irresistibly sexy about a woman who can dance, because men's bodies are totalitarians. We're built like tanks, you know. We are, I think we all guys wish we could dance like Magic Mike or Channing Tatum in that movie. But ultimately, I think men find women's bodies sexy, especially the way they move and dancing. And I've witnessed this for myself, and I've gone to dance classes where I see women dancing, and that's something men find incredibly irresistible. And one of the things I want to encourage you to do is get your guy to dance with you. It doesn't matter how he dances, but just dance sexy around him. I once dated a woman, this is years back, where she did the 9.5 Weeks dance for me. If you ever saw the movie 9.5 Weeks, there's a scene where Kim Basinger just does this sexy strip dance for him. Da na 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 na. Joe Cocker, you can leave your hat on. Something that is incredibly sexy. So body movement, and let's just face it, women's bodies are incredibly intoxicating, especially from a sexual perspective as well. And I don't mean this in any disparaging way or disrespectful way. I'm just saying body movement, we men find irresistible. Number 3, women are much better at planning parties or planning evenings. And I find that very irresistible, that a woman knows how to, and I'm generalizing here, but I've just experienced this, whether it's women see the bigger picture when there's a party. Men, we don't think about the details. Women think about the details. And I got to tell you, to a high value man, we find that incredibly irresistible. Now, again, to the selfish man or that misogynistic man, he might be a taker and take from you, but I'm talking about genuine appreciation, seeing the bigger picture, having candles out, having gifts for your guests, having the right food, all those little things. Even Christmas time, women have a propensity of making this a bigger occasion. And I don't mean this bigger as in overboard. I just mean bigger in that men tend to treat it trivially, I think you know the word I mean, versus the way a woman sees it from the bigger picture, because she wants everyone to connect to their heart. And they're thinking about the details. And I think I find, or at least I personally find, that incredibly irresistible. And number 4, actually my list says number 3 twice. Number 4 is women are more emotionally expressive. Ladies, one of the things we men are thirsty for is emotional safety. We are. Most men don't know how to be emotionally safe. And I always say this to you. The most important facet of a relationship is intimacy. Into me you see. And women have a propensity to vomit their feelings, which isn't healthy. I'm talking, however, because you have a propensity to be more emotional, then you have an opportunity to lead by example. This is why I highly recommend reading 2 books. One is Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. This helps teach you how to communicate in a healthier way, a more compassionate way. And I highly recommend the book Emotional Intimacy by Robert Masters, so you can understand how to connect at an emotionally intimate level, because men are thirsty for real, genuine connection, at least high value men. Again, misogynistic men, takers, all they want you is at their beck and call. I'm talking about the guys that want to go deeper. Now, I know it can seem frustrating because you're probably going, where are these men? Where are these men? Where are these men? They're everywhere. They're everywhere. It just requires a little more patience to look beyond the surface and the egoic way of dating. And that's because most humans operate from the premise of, like, my relationship iceberg. They operate, you see above the waterline, it says attraction and it says chemistry. Most people focus on chemistry. What they don't focus on is compatibility, shared values, blendable lifestyles, and emotional maturity. And that's what gives you the strength to lean into a healthy, happy relationship. And that's why the conversation on my channel isn't based on attraction. It's based on compatibility, because ultimately, the most important facet of a relationship is emotional maturity, and differentiating between those selfish, misogynistic men versus those good guys. And by the way, most men are good people. They're just bad daters. Doesn't make them bad guys. They're just bad daters. So I'm here to say, when you lead by example, but Jonathon, all the dating coaches tell me to sit back on my feminine and just let me be claimed. Think about the word claiming. That's a very misogynistic word, to claim someone. I want you to lean into your female energy, not your feminine energy, your female energy. I want you to lean into your self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem, your self-love. In fact, if you're not familiar with the book Personhood, I highly recommend checking this out, Personhood, by Lee, and I can't pronounce his last name. Can you see it there? I want you to all become your empowered self. It's not feminine or masculine. You're a woman if you have a vagina and the man has a penis, okay? Male, female, okay? Just be in your empowered energy. It's not feminine, it's not masculine. Just be in your sovereign, empowered energy, or self, I should say, and take out the gender rhetoric. Because I'm going to tell you something. The current dating process is a clusterfuck out there. It's because old paradigms, the rules paradigm has fucked it up for many of you. And I want to invite you to look at dating from a completely different way. And I'm going to wrap up by recommending this book, If the Buddha Dated, because it takes out the stupid gender rhetoric and says, how can we connect at a heart-centered level? And that's my invitation for you. So just to remind you, those 4 things men find irresistible, those high value men, that female traits: nurturing, body movement. What was the third one? Planning. You're better planners than us. And lastly, emotional expression. And I promise you, if you try this on the right guy, he'll appreciate you a lot more than the selfish, misogynistic guy. All right, I think you get the gist of where I'm going. I hope you found value in this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Give me an amen. Oops, bit stains there. All right, it's time for our Q&A section right now. This is your chance to ask me some questions. We're going to do about 10 or 15 minutes of Q&A. Really quickly, you can post the word question and write the question thereafter, or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. There's a little $sign in the chat box. All the monies to the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Aslay. That's him right there, little Connor. There's Connor, there's Connor. He's my son who passed away a few years ago, and in his honor, I started a scholarship fund to help defray the cost of personal development for those who are seeking personal development work, and to donate to those personal development charities such as the Hoffman Process and Insight Seminars. And if you're listening to the audio portion of this, you won't be able to see any of this, okay? All right, let's jump in. Oh, really quickly before we get started, a couple things. I did throw out my back last week. I'm feeling much better today. Thankfully, I've been doing core exercises for the last 3 months, so I'm recovering faster than I normally did. Although I did pop a pain pill before I started this, so I'm starting to become loopy. And we're going to do a short, and I put some ice packs on my back, although the ice packs are now, these were for my eyes, have gone warm now. All right, so let's jump into the Q&A. All right, Michelle writes, question: do men prefer to make women laugh, or do they really like it when a woman makes them laugh? Which one turns them on more? Oh my God. I love this question because this centers around sense of humor, I think every human being's sense of humor is completely different. So I think some men have good sense of humor. Some men have terrible sense of humor. I think some women have good sense of humor. Some men don't have good sense of humor. I do believe it's important. Humor is an important facet of a relationship. And I don't want to characterize it, do men prefer it more or women prefer it more? I think human beings are thirsty for a good laugh on a regular basis. One of the reasons why, folks, I love doing psychedelics. By the way, psychedelics, especially the fungi one, is called the laughing drug because I think it makes you laugh at the absurdity of the insanity of human beings. I think human beings are ridiculously insane. I love observing human behavior because I think humans are ridiculously funny in the way they operate. So coming back to your question, there's no men want more, women want more. I do believe sense of humor is an important facet of a relationship. And I think it's important to develop each other's sense of humor and choose people whose sense of humor mirrors yours, because the worst thing is to be with someone who doesn't get your sense of humor. So rather than more or less, how about thinking, do we get each other's sense of humor? That's what I invite you all. Thank you so much for that question. I really appreciate it. By the really quickly, I want to thank Jolene for the $4.99 super sticker. I want to thank Daphne for the $50 super sticker. Thank you so much. And also to Michelle to the $5 super stickers. Thank you so much for the Connor Aslay Scholarship Fund. By the way, my nose is itchy, so please forgive me. All right, we got a couple more questions. Shane writes, question: is it normal to slightly annoy the person that you're dating and vice versa? Just a little annoyances, nothing major. I'm sorry, my nose is itchy. Annoyances. You know what came to mind, Shane, is the movie When Harry Met Sally. When Harry Met Sally. Folks, does anyone remember the movie? If you did, post a comment below. But when Harry met Sally for the first time and they went out to have a bite to eat at a coffee shop, she had a unique way of ordering food. I'd like to have the meatloaf, but I'd like to have the gravy on the side. I'd like to have the Caesar salad, but I'd like to have the croutons on the side. I'd like to have the apple pie a la mode, but if the apple pie isn't, if it's not vanilla ice cream, then I want cherry pie, blah, blah, blah. And Harry's looking at her like, oh my God, she's insane. She's insane. I mean, she was riddled with, she was neurotic. At the end of the movie, he says, I love it that it takes you an hour and a half to order a ham sandwich. I love it that you think 71 degrees is cold. I love it the way your face crinkles right up here when you're nervous. I love it that you're the first person I think of when I wake up in the morning. You're the last person I think of when I go to bed. He didn't fall in love with her. He didn't fall in love with her good qualities. He fell in love with her peculiarities. In fact, one of the things in my private coaching program is we work on developing your peculiarities, because ultimately, as my friend Ariel Ford wrote in her book, Wabi Sabi Love, ultimately what we fall in love with is the unique aspects of a person, the peculiar aspects of the person, not the good aspects. I mean, that's important. Emotional maturity is most important. But ultimately, I love it that you think 71 degrees is cold. I love it that it takes you an hour and a half. Harry fell in love with her peculiarities. And to answer your question, I think that's the juicy part of life. So thank you so much for that question. That's what comes to mind. And again, real love is appreciating those peculiarities. And oftentimes humans operate from egoic love. Egoic love. I have to be right. You have to be wrong. I need things my way to be happy. And if we want to shift this narrative, I highly recommend reading the book Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. Return to Love. Folks, this is a must. By the way, get the audio version, buy the book, go to YouTube. You can watch Marianne Williamson talk about this book. This is such a critically important piece. In fact, understanding love is such a critically important piece. I have one of my YouTube fans that sent me this book, All About Love by Bell Hook. I just got it. I haven't started reading it yet, but it talks about the importance of understanding love beyond the surface egoic way, the way human beings operate. It's mostly operate is, I need you to love me so I can feel good about myself. I need you to love me so I can feel good about myself. I need you to love me to feel good about myself. And worse, I need you to love me the way I want to be loved so I can feel good about myself. Folks, that's a recipe for disaster. And yet most humans are suckling on that nipple. And sadly, it's mostly women who suckle on that nipple more so than men. So I'm here to say, coming back to your question, is it normal to slightly annoy the person that you're dating and vice versa? Human beings aren't perfectly aligned. True love happens when you can appreciate the peculiarities versus expecting perfection. And yet, sadly, the ego expects perfection, and yet most humans cognitively will never say that, but their subconscious is running their script all day long. So great question, Shane. Once again, thank you so much. All right. Anne writes, personal question, do you ever get your cards read? Yeah, I do. In fact, I watched a tarot card reading for me the other day. It says I'm awesome. Yes, I do occasionally get my cards read. So thank you so much. All right. Lisa writes, what's a good way to find out if he's emotionally mature? So I think most human beings are riddled with limiting beliefs and negative patterns and limiting beliefs in their life that stem from childhood wounds and traumas. So one of the questions I ask women on dates is, how fucked up was your childhood? Now, I say that in jest, but in truth, I want to see how someone responds to that, because depending, and by the way, I had a client ask a man, literally the same question. You know what his response was? My mother was a despicable human being. My mother was a despicable human being. She's like, wow, that's such a powerful thing to say about your mom. Her follow-up question, and this leads to Lisa, what you may want to ask is, how did you heal from that? His response, I never healed from it. And guess what? This is a man who went from woman after woman after woman after woman. Short-lived relationships. He wasn't a player. It's just he couldn't hold on to a relationship because he never healed. Emotional maturity comes from doing the personal development, self-help, and spiritual work to actually operate from a cognitive place of victor consciousness and not victim consciousness. And yet, sadly, here in the United States, most people are suckling on the nipple of victim consciousness. So how do you determine if they're a victim? Ask them how bad their childhood was, and depending on their answer, ask them how they healed from it. That's one way of going about it. Lisa, thank you so much for that question. I really appreciate it. All right, we're going to take a few more questions before we wrap up today. Let's see what we've, oh my God. I want to thank Grace for the $5 super sticker as well. Oh, you guys are so generous today. Thank you so much for the Connor Aslay Scholarship Fund. Lisa writes, how fucked up was your childhood? By the way, say it tongue in cheek, and you don't have to say it like that. You can simply say, how was your childhood? But I like to be a little bold. If someone doesn't like my sense of humor, coming back to sense of humor, then we're not a fit. All right, let's see what else we have. Let's go swimming. Let's go swimming. Oh, I got to tell you, the drugs are kicking in, that painkiller. Arlene writes, question, why do men skip to going into hot tubs or other personal before even meeting? Plus, I have ran across men with terrible table manners, licking knives and putting it in butter. Well, I'm guilty of doing that. I've licked knives and I put it in the butter. I mean, I can be unconscious at times. Why do men go into hot tubs? Because we want to have sex with you. Why would a man push for that? Because most men are pushing for sex. Because men have this unconscious belief that sex equals love. The problem with sex equals love is that here's the thing about chemistry that I think it's important for you all to understand. The word chemistry comes from the word chemical. When we feel lust or limerence, and limerence means extreme infatuation, chemicals get released from our brain into our body, very similar to crack cocaine. This is called dopamine. And when dopamine is released in our body, we want to fuck whoever's in our sight, okay? If we like you, we have lust for you, we want to have sex with you. Here's what most men don't understand, and we believe that's love. We're like, oh my God, I'm in love with this person, I want to have sex with them. What we don't know, most men don't know, is the minute the conquest happens, the minute there's an ejaculation, all of the chemicals disappear. The dopamine disappears like radically. It like skips town. It's like takes off. It skips town. Okay. And then all of a sudden, we don't know why we don't like you anymore. I'm serious. We don't know why we don't like you anymore. And this is why men start to pull away, start to go silent, because all of a sudden we don't like you anymore because the deep roots of trust weren't built right from the early stage of dating. But Jonathan, men are supposed to be hunters and they're supposed to want to claim me. Yes, we want to claim sex, but that doesn't mean we want to claim a fully committed relationship. And so it's important to develop those roots of trust. And it takes at least 100 hours of face-to-face time, social activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends. That's how you build stage 1 of trust. But Jonathan, I'm in a long distance relationship and we can't do that. Yeah, and men don't bond over the telephone either. We don't bond through text messaging or telephone. We might chase through the telephone and text, but we don't bond through that. It requires doing shit together. So spend about 100 hours face-to-face time before the penis ever goes inside the vagina. And then if you want to explore a relationship with a guy, I highly recommend, here, what does my coffee mug say? Hey, ladies, Before the penis goes inside the vagina, purchase 2 copies of the book, 8 Dates by Drs. John and Julie Gottman. This is the recipe for relationship success. But Jonathon, I asked a guy to do that and he ran away. Great. The wrong guy ran away. The right guy is going to say thank you. Here, really quickly, I want to read everyone a text I got from a client who worked with me 7 months ago. She just sent me a text. Bear with me a second. Let's go swimming. Let's go swimming. Where is it? She said, I hadn't heard from her in months. She said, hey, Jonathon, I saw one of your recent videos. Always good to get your advice. I want to follow up and let you know I'm in a happy, great relationship. We are reading the book 8 Dates. You do a nice job giving dating advice. Please give it up. Keep it up. 8 Dates. She said it right there. Folks, a serious, genuine guy will want to read this book with you. The wrong guy will say, oh my God, that's overwhelming. God, you're trying to get ahead of yourself. You know, why do I want to bother wasting my time with you? Ladies, we don't have time to fuck around with those selfish, misogynistic men. I'm here to say, if you want to cut to the chase, then tell them before your dick gets to go inside my vagina, then we're going to read this book together, or you can go find some other low-hanging fruit out there. This, excuse my burp, this homie don't play that game. And that's my invitation for you. Thank you for allowing me to rant there. All right. I think we're going to take our last question of the day. Kelly says, beautiful. Queen says, gosh, this guy's terrific. Jennifer says, I just got that book. Great to hear that. And let's see. I can't bond over the telephone or text or lose interest with the guy if he texts too much. I have ghosted some guys. Okay, see, telephone don't work that way. You know, folks, this is going to be a great place to wrap up tonight. I wasn't sure if I was able to do this, but my back is feeling better. Thanks God so much. Oh, I want to tell you one story really quickly before I wrap up today. So, excuse me, my nose is itchy. So I had a coffee, please stay, you got to hear this, but I had a coffee date a few days back before my back went out. And we were sitting in a coffee shop in Marina Del Rey, just having it was a morning, early morning or late morning coffee. And we're sitting there and we're having a good time. It wasn't a fit, by the way, but we were having a good time. And as I'm sitting there, this woman walks by me and says, are you that guy on YouTube? I said, hello, what? And she goes, you're Jonathon Aslay, right? And I go, yeah. She goes, I've been following your YouTube channel. I love your content. And I was like, wow. And I was so appreciative. And she goes, oh, I don't want to interrupt you. And she walks away because I would have taken a picture with her. I can't tell you how cool that was to be recognized out in public. And then I turned to the woman. She goes, wow, that was a big deal. Folks, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. All the love, all the compassion, all the kindness, all of that you give to me. I get beautiful letters in the mail. I get gifts like this coffee mug in the mail. Check that out. Isn't that beautiful? Handmade. I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate all the love and support, the money to the scholarship fund for Connor, all those beautiful messages you mentioned about Connor, all the love and kindness. I'm so grateful I'm making a difference out in the world. And it's now I'm actually becoming a little social media famous. My ego loves it. The Leo in me loves it. There's no doubt. And at the same time, that tells me, and I hope is, I'm making a difference in the world. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your love and support. So on that note, we're going to wrap up today, as I always do. Oh, but really quickly, share this video with friends. Share my channel with friends. Please give me a thumbs up. Give me an amen. Write comments below. I'd be really appreciative. We're going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, giving myself a big, gigantic Jonathon Bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. I want to thank Shane and Grace and Ellen and Crystal and Jennifer and Colleen and Kelly and Pleasant Valley and Arlene. Everyone, I want to thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Bye now.